You are cold. Not the kind of cold you feel when the air conditioning is too high. Not the cold of a winter morning before your coffee. This is the kind of cold that gets into your bones and stays there. The kind of cold that kills. It is roughly 200,000 years ago. You are standing on the edge of a European steppe in the middle of winter. The temperature has dropped to minus 20 degrees Celsius. There is no shelter nearby. No sleeping bag. No thermostat you can nudge up 2 degrees. And here is the part that should stop you cold. There may not be any fire either. For a long time, we assumed that fire was always there. That the moment your ancestors needed warmth, they simply made it. But the archaeology does not say that. In 2012, Will Robrooks and Paula Villa published a landmark study in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. They examined fire evidence across dozens of European archaeological sites. Their conclusion was striking. Habitual, controlled fire use in Europe does not appear in the record before roughly 400,000 years ago, which means that every hominin living in cold climates before that point, every one of your distant relatives surviving ice ages and brutal winters, was doing it without reliable fire, or sometimes without fire at all. So how did they do it? The answer is not one thing. It is a layered system of biological quirks, behavioral intelligence, and material ingenuity that your body still carries traces of today. Pull back the layers, and what you find is a survival story far stranger and more impressive than anyone assumed. Start with the body itself. Your body is not the same shape as a Neanderthal's body. And that difference is not random. The Neanderthals who lived in Ice Age Europe had bodies that were shaped by hundreds of thousands of years of cold climate selection. Anthropologist Leslie Aiello and researcher Peter Wheeler documented this in detail. Neanderthals had shorter limbs relative to their torso, a wider barrel chest, and a stockier overall frame. These are not coincidences. They are engineering. A shorter limb loses less heat to the air. A wider torso keeps vital organs closer together, easier to warm. It is the same principle as a compact car burning less fuel than an SUV. Less surface area, less heat loss, more efficiency. Your body, shaped by a different evolutionary history, is less optimized for cold. A Neanderthal standing next to you in a blizzard would simply lose less heat per minute. That is an enormous advantage when fire is not guaranteed. But biology alone is not enough. Not at minus 20. This is where behavior becomes the second layer of survival. Your ancestors huddled. Not as a metaphor, as a deliberate warmth strategy. Groups of early humans sleeping pressed together in shallow caves or rock overhangs could raise the ambient temperature of a small enclosed space by several degrees through body heat alone. Multiple warm bodies in a confined space act like a biological furnace. The physics are simple. The behavioral implication is profound. Surviving the cold was not a solo act. It was a group project. The social bond was not just an emotional luxury. It was a thermal necessity. Shelter itself was sought aggressively. Cave sites across Europe show evidence of repeated, multi-generational Neanderthal occupation. Shallow overhangs and south-facing cave mouths were particularly valuable. They blocked wind, retained heat from whatever sun there was, and created a microclimate measurably warmer than the open steppe outside. When you picture early humans in caves, you are not picturing primitiveness. You are picturing intelligent real estate decisions made by people who understood, without formal science, exactly which rock surfaces held heat longest. Now consider what they wore. This is where the evidence becomes genuinely remarkable. Eugene Morin's research into Neanderthal subsistence patterns documents something important. Neanderthals were hunting large mammals. Cave bears, woolly mammoths, woolly rhinoceroses, reindeer. They were not doing this only for meat. The hides of these animals are among the most effective natural insulators that exist. A single woolly mammoth hide, properly prepared, could provide warmth comparable to a modern winter sleeping bag. Your ancestors understood this. Not theoretically, practically. They needed those hides to survive, and they were processing them skillfully. In 2013, Marie Seresi and colleagues published findings from several European sites describing a specific bone tool found repeatedly in Neanderthal contexts. It is called a lassoir, a smoothed rib bone used to work animal hides. To make leather supple, pliable, and properly insulating, you have to work it repeatedly. The lassoir is the archaeological fingerprint of that process. Neanderthals were not just draping raw hides over their shoulders. They were processing those hides into something closer to clothing. They were crafting warmth. Bruce Hardy and colleagues added another layer in 2012. Their analysis of plant materials at Neanderthal sites revealed evidence of twisted plant fibers, what appears to be early cordage or rope. This matters for warmth in a specific way. Twisted cordage allows you to bind materials together, to tie a hide around your body, to fix insulating plant matter against your skin, to construct, in effect, a primitive but functional garment. The difference between a hide draped over your shoulders and a hide bound tightly to your body is the difference between partial warmth and real insulation. Neanderthals understood this difference. So picture the scene. It is deep winter, somewhere in what is now southern France. A group of 8 Neanderthals, adults, adolescents, 2 small children, are pressed into a shallow cave mouth facing south. The cave is not deep, but it is out of the wind. The rock behind them absorbed weak afternoon sunlight hours ago and is still releasing it slowly. They are pressed together, hides bound tightly against their stocky frames, cordage looped around the outside to hold everything close. The children sleep between 2 adults, sandwiched in warmth. Nobody is comfortable, but everybody is alive. There is no fire tonight, and they are fine. Now here is the twist that changes how you read this entire story. When fire did become reliable, when Andrew Sorensen's 2021 research confirmed that Neanderthals were using pyrite strikolites to generate sparks, fire did not replace these other strategies. It layered on top of them. The hides were still worn. The huddle was still practiced. The cave mouth was still chosen carefully. Fire was an addition, not a replacement, which means the survival system your ancestors built without fire was so robust, so well designed, that even after fire became available, the whole structure underneath it remained intact. Ian Gilligan, in his 2007 research in World Archaeology, made an argument that is still debated but deeply worth sitting with. He proposed that one of the reasons Homo sapiens, your direct ancestors, eventually outcompeted Neanderthals in cold climates was not just fire. It was clothing, specifically tailored, sewn, layered clothing. Not hides bound with cordage. Garments cut to fit the body, stitched together at the seams, layered to trap air between them. The same insulation principle as your modern puffer jacket. If Gilligan is right, then the final survival edge was not a weapon or a bigger brain or a better social structure. It was a better coat. Think about that the next time you zip yours up. Because here's what all of this means for you, right now. Your body still carries the biological remnants of those cold survival adaptations. When you are cold, your blood vessels constrict at your extremities to protect your core. Your muscles shiver to generate heat. Your body fat redistributes over winter months. These are not malfunctions. They are ancient programs running exactly as designed, written into your physiology across hundreds of thousands of years of cold survival. The thermostat on your wall is not the reason you are alive. It is the reason you have forgotten how much your body already knows. Your ancestors were cold. They were cold in ways you will likely never experience. They survived it without fire, without synthetics, without insulation ratings printed on a label. They survived it through bodies shaped by ice ages, through social bonds that were thermally as well as emotionally necessary, through hides worked with bone tools, through cordage twisted from plants, through a deep knowledge of which rock held the sun's heat longest. You wake up warm every morning and never think about why. For 300,000 years, your ancestors thought about nothing else.